Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be working on evaluate reverse Polish notation. And it's a pretty straightforward problem. So you're given an array of tokens representing an arithmetic expression in reverse Polish notation, and you can evaluate it. You have valid operators, and each operand may be an integer or another expression. The division between two integers always truncates towards 0. There will not be any division by 0, and there is a valid arithmetic expression in reverse Polish notation. Okay, so basically what reverse Polish notation means is you have a stack of tokens, you have a stack of like numbers, and then anytime an operation gets called, you just take the last two tokens out of there, and then you make that operation on them, and you put it back into the stack. So let's kind of walk through how this first example would go. So we're going to have a stack. We're going to put 2. We're going to put 1. Now we hit a plus, which means we take the very last two operands and we pop them and we do a plus, so we get a 3. Then we put another 3. Then we get a multiply, so we take the last two and we multiply them and we get 9. And your result is basically the last thing in here. So let's walk through the second example. So we have 4, 13, 5. Then we get a divide. So the last two divided, and you want to do a floor divide. They tell you we want to truncate towards 0. So 13 divided by 5 will give us 2. Then you have a plus, so 4 plus 2 will give us 6. And you get 6. And let's look at the last one. So we have 10, 6, 9, 3. So we get a plus, which means we take the very last two things out and we add them together. So we get 12 here. So 12. Then we get a negative 11. Then we get a multiply, so take the last two things and multiply them. So 12 times negative 11 is negative 132. Then we get a divide, so we want to do 6 divided by negative 132, I believe, which should just be 0. So hopefully I did this right. Well, let's see. So we get a 0. Then we get a multiply, so 10 times 0 should be 0. Then we get a 17, so we're going to add 17. Then we get a plus, so 17 plus 0 is 17. Weird. Okay, then we get a 5, and then we get a plus, so we add these together, so we will get 22. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a pretty easy problem. Like, all you basically need to do is you just keep putting numbers into your stack, and anytime you get an operation, you just pop off the last two numbers and do the operation and push the result in, and then at the very end, they are assuming that like you're always going to have correct things, and you'll always have one number in the end. You will get like the number that's left in your stack will be the result. And that's basically it. So we can code that. So we're going to have a stack, and we're going to say for token in tokens. So we're just going to check for these 4 expressions. If it's not one of these 4 expressions, then we'll just know it's a number. So we're just going to say if token equals plus, then we want to take the last two numbers and pop them and add them. So we can say stack.append stack.pop. And we don't have to check for like invalid stack or anything. They tell you that like this is always going to be valid. We're always going to have valid inputs. So we take the last two things, we pop them, add it together. Yeah. Okay, otherwise, if it's minus, so if it's minus, what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that, like, let's say we have some numbers like 4 and 5. You want to make sure it's 4 minus 5, not the other way around. So if we do this, for example, the first number popped will be the second number, and this is the one that we want to do the minus. So we want to do this minus this. So we can actually handle this really easily, just like this. Right? So now the first number popped will be the thing we're subtracting, and then the second number popped will be the thing we're subtracting from. So pretty easily there. Now we can do the multiply. And yeah, this is basically the same code as this, just a multiply. And you're always going to have 2 integers, so you don't have to worry about that. Then we have the divide, so we can do divide. So for divide, once again, you want to take the first number you pop. So let's say you have 4 and 5. the first number you pop is going to be 5. So you want to take the second number you pop divided by the first number you pop. We can just make variables here, I think. That would be pretty valid. So let's just do that to make it easier. So we can just say like last equals stack.pop, first equals stack.pop. And now we can just append these two divided by each other. So stack.append first divided by last. And so what we want to do is we want to round this to 0, but Python's really weird. So in Python, if you have like something like -2 divided by 5, like in theory, this should, if you do a floor divide, this should give you 0, right? Like this should give you 0 because it's closer to 0. But in Python, whenever you do a divide and you do a floor divide, it will round to the nearest, like the smallest number. So this will actually round to -1, and we don't want that. So essentially, the way we can handle this is we can just cast it to an int. So we can do a normal divide, get some number, so we get like -0.4, I think, and then we can just cast it to an int, which will just get rid of the decimal, which is what we want. So we were just going to say int like this. Finally, the very last thing is it's just a normal number, so we will just append the number. So stack.append. And so remember, this is a string, so we will cast that to an int as well. So int token. Because we want all these tokens to be integers. And finally, we can just return stack -1 or stack 0. Basically, after you do all these operations, the stack should just have only one thing. So let's double check if that worked. Okay, and there we go. So pretty easy. Like, as long as you basically take a look at what reverse polish notation is, you can read up on it, but it's pretty much what I said earlier. You just take numbers, and anytime you have an operation, you take the very last two numbers and you perform the operation. So this should be O of n and O of n for the stack. So pretty easy. Yeah, and this is helpful for you, then please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.